All right, this next section on page 154, we see discussion, one of the first discussions between Nora and Mrs. Lind. So Mrs. Lind has just arrived and Nora's chattering away, and she suddenly catches herself and she says, "Poor Christina, you're a widow now." And Mrs. Lind replies, "Yes, 3 years ago." "Yes, I know, I saw it in the papers. Oh, Christina, I kept meaning to write to you. Honestly, I did, but something always cropped up and I put it off." Mrs. Lind replies, "Dear Nora, I do understand. Oh, it was horrid of me. Oh, poor Christina, what you must have gone through, and he didn't leave you anything to live on." She's referring to her husband there. Mrs. Lind replies, "No." "And the children?" "No, nothing at all. Not even any regrets to break my heart over." And Nora, looking at her incredulously, says, "Oh, but Christina, that can't be true." And Mrs. Lind, stroking Nora's head with a sad smile, says, "It happens like that sometimes, Nora. But to be so completely alone, that must be terribly sad for you. I have 3 lovely children. You can't see them just now. They're out with their nanny. But now you must tell me about it." "No, no, I want to hear about you." So before we move on, what we get here is a bit of background information for Mrs. Lind. She's been left pretty much on her own after her husband's death, with no resources whatsoever to their name. And we're starting to see, to some extent, the plight or the situation of a woman who's left alone at this time in the mid-19th century. So it was a very, very difficult time for her. Obviously, she's been able to manage to some extent, because this is 3 years now that's passed since it's happened, but clearly a really difficult situation. Interestingly, Nora's reaction is one of incredulity. She can't believe that Christina's been able to survive like this, and she can't believe the situation that she was left in to begin with. What's really interesting to note is some of the stage direction that we have from Mrs. Lind. It actually mirrors to some extent Helmer's stage direction. So stroking Nora's head with a sad smile, it's again almost treating Nora like a child, like she's someone who's innocent, who hasn't had to experience any of these hardships. And subsequently it is in a far less blatant way than Helmer. Again, a rather demeaning action. If we continue on, Nora says, "No, you first. I mustn't be selfish today. I'm not going to think about anything but your troubles. I must just tell you one thing, though. Do you know, we've just had the most wonderful stroke of luck. Only the other day. Oh, what was it? Just think, my husband's been made manager of the savings bank." "Your husband? But that's wonderful." "Yes, it's magnificent. A barrister's life is such an uncertain one, especially when he won't touch any case that isn't absolutely respectable. Of course, Torvald never would, and I quite agree with him. Well, you can imagine how delighted we are. He's to start at the bank on New Year's Day, and he'll have a big salary and lots of commission. Oh, we shall be able to live quite differently from now on, to live as we'd like to. Oh, Christina, I'm so happy. It'll be really wonderful to have lots of money and never need to worry, won't it?" With this scene to start off with, we get a better understanding of the good news that the family has. So we understand now that Helmer's actually been promoted of sorts, and is obviously going to be sitting in a far more safe and stable position, which was what we discussed earlier. This discussion here that we have from Nora about the fact that Torvald will not touch any case that wasn't absolutely respectable, again furthers some of the things that we've mentioned earlier with regards to his morality. And it again helps us understand the way that he reacts towards characters like Krogstad, but also towards Nora at the end when he finally realizes what it is that she's done.